Welcome to the video. For this one, we decided to do drawing backyard animals that we've seen as characters. This first one is one that we've seen in our backyard so many times. It's cardinals. So I decided to do the male cardinal because they have the dramatic red coloring. The females are normally more of a beige and yellow. Other times we'll see them coming together to our bird feeder, which is very sweet. And I'm always like, yay, it's a pair, and it's very cute. But for this one, I'm doing the male because of the dramatic red coloring. I wanted to take that as inspiration to make the character really fancy and over the top and very charming. So I wanted to do a pose where he's got this dramatic coat because he's trying to be all fancy and attract the mates as the birds do. And I wanted it to be pointed at the end, as you can see, to represent both the wing splitting and also the tail coming in. So it's kind of doing double for that. I also, in just a second, you'll see I gave him a little waistcoat at the bottom of his vest coming out of the back to also represent the tail there. Yeah, for his hair, I wanted to make it nice and fluffy because of how fluffy the tops of the cardinals' heads are. I debated giving him a pointy hat because of that, because they have that really dramatic point, which is kind of silly, but I thought it might have been a little bit too much. You can let me know what you think in the comments. But yeah, for his face, I wanted him to look very kind and sweet because I found out that cardinals mate for life, which I think is very sweet. So I think he'd be a very, nice boyfriend. And yeah, for his outfit, I wanted to make it very fancy, as I was saying earlier. So I gave him a nice fancy vest, and I'm giving him gloves to represent how the talons of the bird are white. So it's kind of representing how the feet go from red to white. I thought that would look nice and also add to how fancy he is. And then I gave him nice pants and shoes, and on the bottoms of the shoes, on the front part, I gave little lines to represent how the cardinals have talons, which I thought was a cute little detail. So yeah. I also separated the inside of the coat into two colors to show how the wings have the two sections when they splay out. So I thought how it would hopefully make it look more like wings and have a dramatic presence as well. And then for the color scheme, I really just wanted it to make it look really red and warm because of how just warm and red the cardinals are when you look at them. So hopefully you can represent the cardinals in color scheme, and then also of course all the little details. And then here I'm just adding some nice shading to make it look like, he's more realistic and he's out in the sun, as cardinals are normally flying around. And yeah, this is basically him. I hope you like him. Yay! And then I gave him a nice little tree background to show how he's out in the forest, as cardinals usually are.
Hi, I'm Maple's sister, Chakois. I worked on the next animals in the video, so I was focusing on squirrels that we see in our backyard. We see two types of squirrels, the normal tree squirrels and also these darker squirrels called rock squirrels that I'm a big fan of. They've got a light white ring around their eyes, which makes them look like they're wearing eyeliner, so I always think of them as very fancy. I wanted to take the duality of these two different squirrels and their different energies and try to make them into characters. So on the left, I was focusing on the tree squirrel. Tree squirrels like to do this splooting, where they flatten themselves out. You can see the squirrel at the top left doing that, and reach out, and it's mostly to cool themselves off when it's hot outside. But to me, it gives the energy of a very relaxed, chill character who's not too worried about being all put together. And I also like how they hold their hands in towards their chest sometimes when they land from a jump or just when they're looking around. So I tried to replicate that pose in my character that I created. For his outfit, I gave him a loose hat, a baggy jacket, a scarf, and some big baggy pants because I wanted him to look like he kind of threw something together all of a sudden. And I liked the energy of a character that wears loose clothes. It makes me think of someone casual. For the girl on the right, she's based on the rock squirrel. I wanted her to look fancy, the way that I always picture rock squirrels being, and also a bit judgmental of the more relaxed tree squirrel. So I gave her glasses to mimic the white eyeliner on the darker rock squirrel, and I gave her a big fancy coat. I thought it would be fun if they had similar types of outfits, but contrasted by how fancy they are, because the squirrels have big bushy tails, so I gave them those baggy coats, and for the guy I gave him a jacket around his waist to represent the tail. But you can see there are differences in what types of outfit they're wearing. I also gave them scarves because when I looked at a squirrel, they had a round head but also a thick neck that connected to their body that made them look pretty cute. So I thought that the scarves would look like that fluff around their neck. For the shading, I wanted it to look like they were outdoors, so I tried to give them shading from above and from behind them so it looks like they're standing outside. Some final touches that I did was on the girls' shoes. I really tried to think about how do the squirrels have these small, cute little feet, and I put little white bits on the shoes to look like the claws of the rock squirrels. Here's the finished drawing, look at them together, and then I put them in a park because I had to, because they're squirrels.
For this last animal we're doing, we decided to do a gray fox because we see them every once in a while in our backyard, and it's always very exciting whenever we see them because I just think they're so cool. They're definitely up there for favorite animals, and I really love how graceful they are while also being quite cute, but also they have that intimidating and fierce edge, which I think is just such a cool combination. So I wanted to really make a cool character. I wasn't sure exactly what to do because I didn't want to just make a fox girl where she's got that tail and the ears, because I feel like I've seen that so many times. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit more creative and just see what I could come up with. So here I did a pose where she's got like a little clawed hand, which I thought was a cute idea. And then her hair, so many struggles. So you'll see it, the hair goes through so many different evolutions. The beginning, I'm trying to figure out what volume I can do to make it look like ears. So I tried making little poofies at the top. Then I was like, okay, I can have pieces that go up, but that just looks so silly. So I made pieces going down, and then I ended up changing it a little bit later on. Here I'm trying out braids to try to make that fox appearance, but it just did not capture the vibe. I changed it in a little bit though. I kept with the ponytail though because I thought that it was cool having that as how we captured the tail. So it has that long flowy ponytail to be the tail in the silhouette. So was happy with that. Then moving on to her outfit, I wanted it to be something that could be out in nature and a little bit more mysterious, I guess. So I gave her this big sweater, and I wanted to have that V shape that foxes do on their chest. I thought that was quite cool. And then I gave her a tank top that's going to be white later on to be that fluff on the fox's neck. And then I gave her some floofy skirts. I debated so long what kind of skirts to do. You'll see again it goes through so many evolutions. This design was such a struggle, but I think I finally warmed up to it in the end, so that's good. Here I decided to try to give her some more ragged skirts and one that was flowy out in the back to be like the tail, but I just felt like that looked really weird, so I scrapped that in the end. And then for her shoes, I gave her boots, again because I wanted her to be out in the wilderness, and I made them white in the end. You'll see in a little bit because I want it to be how the foxes have that white base on their feet, so that was cool. And then I really wanted most of the volume to be up with the skirt and the sweater, and I wanted to keep her legs really long and very fitted because of how graceful and slender the foxes have their legs. I hope I did that well in the end. I debated giving her pants, but I thought that the skirt looked cuter. And then I changed it to shorts underneath a little bit later on. Again, I was really conflicted with this design. Here I'm doing the coloring. I'm basically just keeping the same coloring that the fox had, so I'm doing that gray but also some of that orange, which I think looks really cool. I haven't really seen that in a character design before, so I think it's kind of cool to take inspiration from animals with some unique color palettes. But yeah, I'm trying to just capture everywhere that the fox had color on the girl, and I'm making the hair nice ombre. And then finally here, I'm just adding some lighting, making it really dappled, which I thought was so pretty in the image we took. Hope you like her. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.
We really enjoyed designing these characters.
Yes, it was so much fun. Bye, see you next time.
Goodbye!
I gave him little silver, like, what's it called? I don't know, feet? What are they called?
Shoes?
No, like on the bird. Why can I not think of the word?
Like talons?
Yeah. Like claws? I don't know.
Okay.
I was like, what are they called? Sorry.
Wait, no, maybe we should use that. That's pretty funny.
This is such a long pause. I'm sorry.